believe it or not, have issues with fear or lack of confidence. And here we're in this business, right? You're asking for budgets from a client from 10,000 to 50,000 to 500,000, whatever, million, whatever. And yet, so you think we have the bravest people in the world in PR agency life, but I found that not to be the case. So often they say, I could never say that to my client. I could never say that to my business partner. And it's like, of course you can. What's the worst that would happen?
Welcome to the Smart Talk series, the show for professionals who want strategies, tips, and real talk about all things PR, marketing, and social media. Your host is Melissa Vella Williamson, an award-winning, accredited, and nationally recognized PR pro and communication thought leader. And now your host, Melissa Vella Williamson.
Hello, and welcome to the Smart Talk series. I'm Melissa Vella Williamson. This season, our focus is on evolving your career. Today, I'm joined by Ken Jacobs. Ken Jacobs is one of the few certified executive coaches who had an initial career in PR agency management and leadership. As the principal of Jacobs Consulting and Executive Coaching, he helps senior communications executives become more inspired, inspiring, and effective leaders. Ken also helps agencies reach their business development goals, manage for profitability, and enhance client service and relationships. Hey, welcome, Ken.
Thank you so much. It is a joy to be with you on your
Oh,
podcast.
same here, Ken. Tell us more about your background and your work today.
Sure. So I spent, as you sort of alluded to, 25 plus years in PR agency life. I got into management early. I got into leadership early. That had some pros and cons. And it was consumer PR, marketing PR. Many people who know me somehow get a kick out of the fact that I was one of the few men behind the launch of the one and only Wonder Bra in 1994.
Love it.
But we won all kinds of awards. So I'm really very proud of that work because it was strategic. Giggles aside, it was strategic. And we had a big impact on sales when there was virtually no advertising. But, in around 2006, I needed to do a career reevaluation. And I came up with a different kind of approach for me. I did something I encourage people who are doing a career reeval to do a Venn diagram, big fan of the Venn diagram. And I had one circle, what I thought I did very well, what my clients told me over the years I did well. That's one circle. Another circle is what I have a passion for. And then another circle was what I believe there was a market for. And I think anyone looking at their career or career satisfaction really should do that because you got to find that sweet spot. Because if you only do what you do well and you have a passion for, but there's no market for it, or you won't get paid well, it's kind of hard to live the life of abundance I think we all want, whatever the life of abundance means for you. If you only do what you're good at and there's a market for, but you don't have that passion, it's going to be hard to pursue it. You won't be as successful. So, and if you're passionate about something or some things and there's a market for it, but you're not the best at it, right? You don't have case studies. You don't have raving clients and quotes and, good luck getting the gig. Someone else is going to get the gig. So I did the career reevaluation and then we came up with what is now 2 name changes later, Jacobs Consulting and Executive Coaching.
Well, you kind of give us the background into my next question, which is always, what was that inspiring moment or catalyst for that career evolution? And truly,
Sure.
Ken, like you said, that evaluation, because for this season, I really want to have our listeners consider where they're at. But so often we're so busy doing the work, we don't look up from our desks and realize,
Yeah.
is this the work I want to be doing going forward? So for you and having those name changes, what really inspired that evolution when you
Yeah.
decided in 2006 to make a change?
Yeah. So wasn't it entirely my choice? So I'm very candid when I talk about my career or my perception of my career. So here
Yeah.
goes. if I'm being totally honest. I kind of was a shooting star. I got early into the business, and as I mentioned, early into management and leadership. And there was some, VP at 26, and that was not done then. There weren't many VPs at 26, and I think I was an SVP at 28, and there weren't a lot of us. But something happened along the way, and in full candor, the duration of my assignments, of my jobs was of shorter and shorter duration, and in full honesty for your audience, wasn't always by my choice. So I had to face that 25 years in, even though I had this really great start and even middle, something wasn't working.
Mm,
Something wasn't working. I had to figure out what was working. And, that point I was 50, and there's a lot of isms in business and in the PR world. And after 50, there's ageism. There's absolutely ageism. So I knew it would be really tough to get that job. But then I had to think about, but will I succeed? When I look at the last few years, even with some good highlights, something's got to change. Something's got to give. So I did that career reinvention. I realized I wanted to be of service to the PR world and PR leaders, because let's face it, PR people are great, right? Agency people are great. I wanted to stay in that world. So I created a business where we would provide, coaching to keep mostly PR and mostly agency leaders. We would provide the consulting that you mentioned to agencies, and that we would also provide training as well. And you talk about evolution. The two things that changed, not even so much the name of the company that changed, that's, the least of it. It was, oh, I'll bring up, so a fellow PR person who made the leap to coaching is someone and you all should know, Elise Mitchell. And we were having dinner right before the Silver Anvils. And this was maybe 2010 or 11. Don't hold me to it. And I said, Elise, and at that point she was still in PR. She was a global PR CEO. What should I do? You know my brand and you know what I'm about. How do I explode my business? She said, Ken, get certified, get trained and certified. Now, the dirty secret of coaching is you can hang up a shingle without certification. I hate that idea now, but I did it then. And she said, and get certified, not for the initials after your name, but for what it'll make you a better coach. It'll make you a much better coach. You'll have a real coaching process. So I went for the training, I went for certification and recertify. Now I'm a PCC, professional certified coach, et cetera, a few other initials. And when that happened, that fueled the coaching becoming a bigger part of my business. And now I look at today, 2023, yeah, coaching is the biggest part of the coaching, consulting, and training.
yeah, and I really appreciate that you're candid and kind of share how that worked for you, because that's, I think, the hardest part is so much of shaping your own career, whether you are happier in the employee camp or you're happier in the entrepreneur camp or a little bit of both, right? It's so unknown. I like to joke that sometimes people feel like with me, like, oh, you're so driven, Melissa. You know what you're doing. You da da da. I'm like, I'm figuring it out as I go. I'm building this brick by brick, step by
Right.
step, and it's not always like
You're building the plane as it's, in the sky kind of thing, but
right. And there's moments you really feel like, okay, I'm about to crash. Right, this is
right.
gonna
Well,
fall.
you got the parachute, right? So you'll be
Yeah,
okay. You got the
yeah.
parachute. But I'm very honest because I really believe that people need to be honest. They need to, going back to something you said, they're so busy looking down. They need to look out the window. They need
Hmm.
to look at what's ahead and what's coming. And then they also, equally important, maybe more important, is look within, right? Know what your strengths are, know what you want to work on, know where the opportunity is. So I think, some options include, if you're currently employed, getting a mentor, whether you get it through your local PRSA chapter or you have one in your organization, or many people invest in a coach to help them figure out, what does success really look like for me? What does abundance look like? And what will bring me joy? And the one thing I think good coaches bring, certified good coaches bring, is the ability to be outside the story, right? We don't jump into the story. So we can see things. I mean, the one thing, every one of my coaching clients, and they're great and they're smart, there's one thing none of them have about themselves, and that's objectivity. And that's one thing that I think a good coach can bring. And speaking the truth to them with their permission, only with their permission.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think that it's good that you defined how getting certified did help you learning the process,
Amazingly.
but also framework and then confidence and honestly credibility from the outside, right? It's the
Yeah.
same thing with our accreditation and PRs. Most pros practice. I practiced most of my career without that accreditation, but walking through that process just added a little extra understanding and depth, I think, to
Yeah.
my work. But more that I felt like a kink in my armor was solved and
Yeah.
solidified there too. And same on the diversity professional side for me. And I had my eye on that coaching cert, so I'll put that out there that one day I'm gonna probably
Okay,
walk
we'll
into that
talk.
lane. I'm sure.
We'll talk. I'll tell you where you should go.
Well,
In
and
my
you're always good about defining the differences between coaching and consulting.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of that understanding from your point of view and helping us walk through like the coach for me. In full candor, everyone can coach me. The year that I was developing my book, I asked him to help me and because I was doing a lot of mind work. It was super
Sure
scary
were.
to try to write a book and to tell people I was writing a book and to fund that work and of course we were still going through the pandemic, a really bad part
Oh
of
my
it. So
God. Can you imagine?
yeah, so getting the motivation and mojo and just, and having that outside ear. Sometimes it feels parts therapy, but then parts like, just tell me how to solve this problem, Ken.
Right. So coaching is not therapy, but my
Yeah.
clients say they find it therapeutic.
Yes.
And, one of the big differences between consulting and coaching is people, use them interchangeably, and they really shouldn't. In consulting, we give our opinion, we give our advice, we give our counsel based on our experience, and there's a role for that, right? So I do consulting not around the person, but around a business need, business development, fiscal best practices, team performance and leadership. That's consulting. I hope it brings value to my clients. They tell me it does. But coaching is very different because in coaching, in real coaching, we don't believe that we have it's not about our knowledge. It's not about our experience. It is about the coaching client has everything they need to succeed, but something is getting in the way. And so our job is not to tell them what to do, but to help them unearth and remove whatever is getting in the way of that success or fulfillment or having inspired followers. Now, from time to time, and I'll tell you years ago, it was like, you cannot consult, you cannot tell, then you're not doing coaching, bad you. Now there's a little bit more openness, even in the certified coaching world, that I would just say is best told, like if you're at a cocktail party and someone says, "Where's the restroom?" You don't ask, "Oh, good question. Why do you want to know?" Like that's a classic coaching question. It's okay to show them where the restroom is, but only from time, in my view, only from time to time. And I think it's very important to say, "I'm going out of coaching now. Do I have your permission to go into consulting?" And my clients always say yes. And then we brainstorm or I give them some ideas. And then I say, okay, now we're going back into coaching. And they always say, Ken, I don't care what mode we're in. I go, it brings value. So, yeah, but we do need to know. We need to know which modality we're in. Are we in consulting or are we in coaching? So that to me is an important distinction. And the other way to look at it is generally you consult with an organization, or at least in my experience, an organization fixing a topic, and coaching is generally more empowering a person or empowering a team even.
Yeah, no, that's really helpful. So what kind of coaching and from individuals or what kind of coaching do you find your clients need most? What are they asking for? Do you see any
Yeah.
patterns?
Oh God, absolutely. I mean, not having committed or engaged or inspired followers. Like I'm running my organization, we're growing the business, but when I turn around, I don't feel people following me. I don't feel engagement. And that's really critical because we are living in an era of disengagement. And there may be some challenging times ahead this fall, depending on which media you follow, et cetera, et cetera. We need to have engaged followers. Sometimes their organization isn't achieving their goals and they know that they play a role in that. We need to fix that. A lot of my clients, believe it or not, have issues with fear or lack of confidence. And here we're in this business, right? You're asking for budgets from a client from 10,000 to 50,000 to 500,000, whatever, million, whatever. And yet, so you think we have the bravest people in the world in PR agency life. But I found that not to be the case. So often they say, I could never say that to my client. I could never say that to my business partner. I could never say that to my lieutenant colonel. And it's like, of course you can. What's the worst that would happen? So helping leaders discuss everything with everyone and serving it up with a combination of direct, kind, honest, and diplomatic. So we have a lot we're working on with that. Some are just not having satisfied, fulfilled lives. You know, we've got the medals, we've got the silver anvils, we've got I just thought I'd be enjoying myself more and I don't want to wait till I retire. A couple of quick others are, managing their time, managing their calendars rather than being managed by their calendars and working these insane 12-hour days all the time and just going from Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting to Zoom meeting. I mean, that is just insane. And then last two would be a career change. I'm working with a few on career changes. And then related to what we said earlier, some may feel they're liked but not respected, and leaders need to be respected. I'll quote Barry Rafferty, who at one point was there were only four women, leading global communications agencies. And at one point, she was that at Ketchum. And great quote from her: like leaders are liked, respected leaders are followed. And I think that's so true.
Hi, this is Anais Miracle, a proud supporter of the Smart Talk series. As a sponsor, I would like to share a few organizations I support, and they include Southwest Key Programs, the Hispanic Women's Network of Texas, Fierce Mujeres, and the Hispanic Public Relations Association, HPRA, the Texas chapter. Please find out more information about these organizations in the show notes. And thank you to Melissa Vela Williamson, a steadfast leader in the space of Hispanic public relations and public relations overall. And thank you for all that you do for Latinas like myself in public relations.
Yeah, those are really major and I think relatable points for us because we all go through those moments where what is that disconnect, right? Why am I so excited and passionate about something and my team doesn't seem to be, or my department doesn't seem to be, or my leader doesn't seem to be,
Yeah.
and managing for that. And then confidence, absolutely. I mean, that's self-work our whole lives. And I think
Yeah.
I'm just quite, after reading enough and experience enough, understanding that is something, it's like, I think I don't know who said this, but I think they talked about it's like hygiene. It's something you have to do
Mhm.
every day. You're never going to be done
Habit. It's
building
habit. How do we build habits? If any of your listeners, excuse me, are women, and I assume they're in the PR field, so many of them are women, they may be facing issues of confidence. A really good read is The Confidence Code by Katty Kay, who many of you know from BBC America and MSNBC and NBC. And I just have a mental block with her business writers,
Mhm.
her business writing partner. Forgive me. She's a New York Times writer and speaker, but we have a major issue in this country with women not embracing their greatness and their confidence. And they interview women from all walks of life, all of whom you would think would be just hugely confident because they're hugely successful, including the authors. And they're very honest about their confidence issues that seem to align with being a woman. So one thing I got from it is I have one trait that many women have when it comes to confidence, which is many women and also myself, we ruminate. We ruminate over things. A lot of men, and they have all the book is full of research. It's not just made up or their opinion, but a lot of men, hit a failure, hit a bad meeting, hit a bad quarter, it's like, oh, well, okay, I'll do better the next time. Boom, just into the next. And a lot of women ruminate. What did I do wrong? Why did this happen? Da, da, da. And in full candor, here I go again. That's something I'm coaching myself around. Don't ruminate. Get a lesson and move on. And remember, it's not about successes and failures. It's about successes and learning.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't tell you how often when I speak to crowds, I'll get that question of, so how do you handle failure or imposter syndrome? And
Hmm.
now I have talking point answers for them, basically, right? With imposter syndrome, like, unless you're absolutely a fraud and faking the whole darn thing,
Yeah.
you have to let that go. Like, even that term is just so dangerous for our self esteem, I think. But I know that book was something you recommended to me. And then Katty
Oh
Kay
my
spoke
goodness.
at a PRSA international conference I was at. So I wrote a column about her talk in that book for my PRSA cultural strategy column, because I'm very passionate about women and confidence. And this also trickles over to a lot of pros and people of color. And I think a lot of it has to do with that collectivist cultures that we are brought up and wired to be in relationship with others. So sometimes elevating ourselves
Mm.
makes us feel out of our group. Personally experienced it. I know we've talked about that too. Very prevalent in the Latina groups that I talk to. And so I summarize it quickly, but a lot of this has to do with the hard work of doing. You build
Mhm.
confidence by taking the action as wildly as uncomfortable as it is, right? Even this moment, this is not comfortable for me. I could just be writing a press release right now, but
Mhm.
this is the work that I'm challenging myself to do. And it does make you more confident after you've done that hard thing and you look back and you're like, wow. So I just want to share that with listeners if you need that quick summary is right. It's prevalent. We need to
You
support
bet.
our girls younger to try hard things and take risks and just embrace the lessons and keep iterating from there. So I love that you mentioned that, Ken.
Yeah. And I would say, if I may, remember, I hope it's okay to say this, remember to reach out to your male allies and supporters because there
Yeah.
are many of us out there who do want things to change, with all, we know that
Mhm.
all kinds of PE&I is good for all of us and it's good for business. Some of us are out there. The other piece of good news I wanted to share is that science is showing us, and this is what I'm most excited about coaching into the future and leadership, the power of neuroscience. And you don't have to be a neuroscientist to understand that we have the ability, and it is proven again and again, to change our neural pathways. We can think differently. We can totally change that. And it takes some work. And by doing that, we can change outcomes. So thinking about how you think and thinking about, does this way of thinking, does this mindset, if you will, help me achieve what I want? And if it doesn't, you can flip that switch and just get amazing results. That's so exciting to me that we
Yeah.
can observe how we think, change how we think, and build new neural pathways and new habits. There are a
Yeah.
lot of ways of thinking that don't serve us. There are a lot of habits that don't serve us. Everyone listening in can change that.
Yeah. Great points. I get asked about the book I wrote, Smart Talk. public
Mhm.
relations and essentials all pros should know. A big inspiration and point of writing that was to help encourage people from communities that don't often, by numbers, by stats, right, don't enter PR, or if they do, so people of color, or if they are in PR, aren't getting up to that leadership level. So a lot
Mhm.
of women, right, aren't taking those high level seats. And part of it is just being bold enough to raise your hand yourself and not waiting to be picked or tapped for those kind of positions. But I love that you mentioned that mindset because I talk about that often in my book is having that PR point of view. And then there's chapters about acting like a pro and thinking like a pro because so much of
Mhm.
this really is that being conscious of how you think matters because then that influences how you behave and how you behave, right? And da da da
Absolutely.
da da. So I
Absolutely.
love all that.
So
Well, with
since
you,
you've mentioned women in business, can I say the day we're recording this is Bastille Day. It's the 96th birthday of one of my first bosses, Barbara Hunter. She is, along with her sister, Jean Schoonover, they were iconic glass ceiling breakers. They ran a PR firm before I joined them in the late 60s. And it wasn't done then. It
wow,
just wasn't done then. And they led it, and they realized all the men were paid more than them, including men who worked for them. Well, they changed that on the first day. And a lot of men left, but they persevered. They grew a great agency. They sold it to Ogilvy. And then many years later, in her mid-60s, Barbara created Hunter PR. And again, that was another ceiling broken because in those days, people in their 60s did not create agencies, believe me. They may do it now. They did not do it then. And women in their 60s did not create agencies, and it became a huge success. So
that,
kudos. Happy birthday, Barbara. 96th birthday, Barbara
wow.
Hunter.
Shout out, Barbara. I love
Shout
that.
out, Barbara. Yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and like you had said before, your background in leadership in these large agencies really has helped you in your work today. So, what
Mm,
have you learned about agency life or leadership, business management that would help pros in the field now?
yeah, I think there are a lot of new things, obviously, and AI and digital, and there are other experts who can talk about that. So I'll let them do that. But I think there are some things I knew before and some things I didn't. Number one, you must understand the business. You must understand the fiscals. You must understand the numbers. Stop believing, well, I'm a PR person. I'm an agency person. I don't understand the numbers. I'm calling BS on that. You're capable of learning the numbers. And if you didn't get it through college or otherwise, then get a mentor, get someone who can help you learn that. Number two, understand the business if you're on the agency side of how an agency operates and makes money and makes profit. Whether you're internal or external, understand the relationship between PR results and business results. If you're trying to grow your business, your influence, and you've got clients, whether you're internal, external, nonprofit, you must understand the metrics of the impact of PR on the business. The last three things I'd raise: writing skills until AI replaces writing skills, which I could be wrong. I don't think it's going to do yet. But you still have to be able to write a compelling pitch or a proposal or a white paper or a PR campaign or an email to your boss suggesting something. You've got to understand good business writing. You've got to understand leadership. If you look at that arc in PR, you go from learner to practitioner to manager to leader. Leadership is a big step up. You must understand the difference between management and leadership. We manage things, we manage budgets, we manage production schedules. We get the train out of the station on time. But leading is about people. It is very different. And then finally, the newer thing that I didn't know about then, but emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is so important to be a leader, but also to lead your clients and lead your peers and lead up to your boss.
Yeah,
And I don't say,
absolutely.
you'll notice I don't say manage up. I say lead up because I
Mm,
think when people think managing up, they think a little, I'm going to BS my boss or something. No, no, it's leading. It's helping your leader achieve what they need to achieve. And because all things are reciprocal, hopefully they will help you achieve what you want to achieve. So to
yeah.
me, it's leading, not managing.
No, I understand that too. I think those are good points. And absolutely with you on emotional intelligence. I included that too. I talked about how key that's in the relationships chapter because how key that is. And in some ways, that is more powerful. We need to think about that more. If, we hear ROI or return on
Mhm.
investment, and we have to really think about, well, how can you even get there if you don't
Yeah.
understand? You're not reading the room, monitoring the situation, even from that larger external communications perspective, forecasting and following public sentiment. Where is it going? How is it being shaped? How can you help shape it maybe
Mhm.
in a positive way? So I think those are really important points. Thank you for the list. It's really
Good.
helpful. So let's talk about career evolution and change because
Mm.
that's one of the reasons
Change
people
is
seek
good.
your counsel. Yeah. And
Yes.
change is good. And change happens to
Change is
us.
good.
If we don't manage change,
Well,
it manages us.
you know what? I'm going to add something to my list of what do you need to have in PR. I think to really succeed in the business, in addition to all those other things, except that change always happens. Throughout my career, I thought, when will I really understand this? Will I really, when I'm 30, when I'm 35, when I'm 40? The reality is that this changes and your success in PR and business and life, I think, is tied to your ability to navigate change, to accept what's coming, and sort of, to sound a little coachy, being in flow and
Mm,
accepting that change is the only constant, isn't it?
yeah,
So
absolutely.
that kind of goes, but I would do the Venn diagram exercise I mentioned earlier. What am I really good at? And I can prove it. And I've got others who'll say it. Really, not just a B plus, like this is where I'm an A. What is there a market for? How can I get paid to do this? Where do people need this? And then what am I passionate about? That's one, understand your strengths, know what they are, and you've got to hear that from the outside. You can't just decide what your strengths are. You've got to hear it from your boss. I hate that word, your leader, your peers, and your team and your clients. What do they perceive your strengths are? And obviously there are weaknesses, but I always recommend focus first on your strengths. Know what they are. You can build your weaknesses, but focus on your strengths. Um, I think be honest and aware of self. And that's where the outside perspective can come in. And I think I would just say, and I haven't figured out why, but for some reason, many people in the PR space ultimately do become coaches, and we're good. We're really good. And I think there's something about being good in PR, maybe because we're good listeners, maybe because hopefully we have a higher degree of emotional intelligence. Maybe there is something I think in PR people of our desire to serve others, and that really serves us well in coaching, that we love seeing others succeed. So Elise Mitchell, who I've mentioned, made the jump. I made the jump. Maybe someday you'll make the jump. But for PR people, it is good to think about, what do I want to do in that next chapter? And I will tell you this, think about what will bring you satisfaction and fulfillment. As I built my career, I enjoyed the job. I enjoyed the promotion. I enjoyed the clients. I enjoyed the team. I loved winning the silver anvil and all those other awards. I always say the year of the Wonder Bra, we won 12 of the agents of the world's, 11 awards because we won best in show. And yeah, sure. I loved all that, but I never thought about satisfaction and fulfillment. And I was on my way to a Wonder Bra event and my stomach was in knot. And it's like, and I couldn't do the self-talk. Like, Ken, you created for this event the strategy and the creative, and you're good at that. Relax. You got the greatest media team in New York. Come on. You've got Marina Marr there, and if something doesn't go well, or if you need some to get the client out of your hair, like, send Marina over and she will take care of them and it's true. I mean, it was great having Marina at our event. She gave me such and on and on and on and on. And I just couldn't live in the moment. I couldn't. So I wasn't as self-aware to say, this is a sign that maybe you're not doing what you're meant to be doing. So I think so, but honestly, I don't think I thought about things like satisfaction and fulfillment, not consciously, till I was 50. Till I was 50. So I'm kind of the poster child for it's never too late, right? Because since making the switch, I just feel tremendous satisfaction and fulfillment. And as much as I loved my 25 plus year agency career, nothing comes close to the fulfillment I'm getting today. And, I'm sure you know Patrice Tanaka, who was a PR leader, PR agency leader, and now helps people and organizations connect with their passions and their fulfillment. Her, joyful planet. What a great thing. And I once said, Patrice, why didn't I figure this out till 50? Why couldn't I have figured it at 45 or 40 or even 35? I said, well, that's the thing about wisdom. Sometimes it's tied to experience. Sometimes it's tied to experience. But, thank goodness I got there, right?
Yeah, no, and I'll just say that I'm a big fan of Arthur Brooks, and he's got a book called
Mm.
From Strength to Strength,
Ooh,
and he talks about
I
how
love the sound of
the
that.
you definitely should read it.
Yeah.
The beginning parts of our life up till maybe, depending on the person, right? The mid-30s, 40s, we have we have fluid intelligence, he says. So we're meant to be
Mm,
taking in a lot of information
mm,
and learning, learning, learning. And then as our brain ages, we're better at the wiring switches or whatever.
yeah.
And we have a crystallized intelligence. So we're better at synthesizing all this data and information.
Mm,
And I tell my team, I said, I absolutely am feeling that change and I'm riding the wave, proactively because I'm better at big ideas and plans because I can see all the patterns
yeah.
almost from that sky view. When you're younger in your career and you're younger in your brain, you're just learning how everything works.
Yeah.
And
No,
once
that's a great point.
yeah, so he talks about building up and strategically moving with that change as well. So I honor your journey, but having read him and just another podcast I listened to, it sounds very systematic to how we experience life as people. So I
Yeah.
think that's really
Yeah.
great. You pointed out.
And something you just said made me think of something, which is that, as you go into leadership or as you consider going to leadership from management to leader, I mean, it's a given that you will stay on top of the trends in PR, be it PR or data or social or AI or all these things that are always changing. That's table stakes, right? But if you really want to be an effective leader, you must become a lifelong student of leadership and look at good websites and listen to or watch good podcasts or always be paying attention to what are the people that I admire? What are they reading about leadership? Because we can give that gift to one another. And you've just given a gift to me and your listeners. But having a thirst for knowledge about leadership will serve you really well. And I think it's a requirement. You can't just go by your gut. You've got to build other tools, if you will.
Yeah. Trust the data first is what I like to think about.
Yeah.
So Ken, I know we could talk all day, but
We could
yeah,
let's.
give you back some time. And I know our listeners need to move on to their
Yep.
other duties as assigned. So what does Smart Talk mean to you, Ken?
Yeah. Other than a great book, other than a great book by you.
Thank you.
Well, to me, it means a couple of things. It's saying what you mean and meaning what you say. I think that's important. And it's knowing that your energy and the energy behind something is more important than your words. And the third thought is know that what you do outweighs what you say every single time. There's a great quote. I'll probably get it wrong. You know, what you do is so loud, I can't hear what you're saying. Oh, I think I got it right.
Ooh, that's pretty
And
good.
I want to say that's Thoreau. It might be Thoreau, but it is true. What you do speaks volumes, and your teams, your peers, your clients, your boss, everyone will believe what you do. So if what you're saying is out of sync with what you're doing and how you lead and how you act, that creates a dissonance. They will believe what you do and they won't believe what you say. And now you've got a credibility gap. But I don't want to end on a negative note. If you can get what you say in sync with what you do, if you can get what you do in sync with what you say, then that's really smart talk.
There you go. Love it. Well, Ken, what's the best way for listeners to connect with you after this great combo?
Thank you. I would say email me, KEN at JACOBSCOMM.com. You can find me on LinkedIn, but there's a lot of Ken Jacobs on LinkedIn. So just find the Ken Jacobs with some initials after his name. I think I'm only one, or go to the website, JACOBSCOMM.com. We've got resources there for leaders. We've got leadership ebooks available for those who want to do some of what we talked about today, which is like increase their reading. I'm not yet brave enough to do what Melissa did, to write a whole book, but I've had great counsel about, you got some good wisdom, share it. And for me, a leadership ebook was less daunting. So we've now done our fourth. So I'm getting there. I'm catching up to you.
I'll coach you, Ken. It'll be fine.
I love it. I love that idea.
Thank you, Ken, for sharing your knowledge with us today.
Oh, thank you. It has been a true pleasure and a joy.
Thanks to our listeners for joining me for today's episode. We love diving deep into communication topics to elevate our industry practice. You can work with me as a trainer, consultant, or hire my firm, MVW Communications, for strategic planning or PR strategy services. In case you missed it, Smart Talk, Public Relations Essentials all pros should know, is out. You can buy your print or audiobook copy to get award-winning advice, lessons, and tools about all things public relations. Available on Amazon, or get an autographed copy at mvw360.com/book. Grab your copy there and please leave us a review. It would mean the world to me and helps more aspiring or working professionals find us. And as always, think smart and communicate smart. And I'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Smart Talk series. If you learned something or enjoyed our conversation, share it on social media or send to a friend. To learn more about this and other communication topics, visit mvw360.com. That's mvw360.com.